Rio, thank you very much. That truly is an honor. Mesa al Khair, Ramadan Kareem. Dear seniors, thank you, I think, for the opportunity to speak tonight. I fear that I'm up here only because I tumbled down a slip and slide after most of the deans, and only because Zina Al-Hananda bullied me into doing it. I hope, on the other hand, that you have found our exchanges in and out of class important and meaningful as I have. I'm uneasy for another reason. Here I am, the stranger, saying goodbye to you, the natives of Kings, and for many of you of Jordan. At this moment, however, I accept your good faith and wisdom, and besides, I have a little extra motivation. A week ago, Zaid Laham challenged me by explaining, "We thought we'd give you one last chance to show us you're a warm and loving man." Zaid, I accept that challenge. I am not a warm and loving man. I've titled my remarks, I'm sorry, hold on. I need to mention three young men from Mizan, Ahmed, Rawad, and Majd, who've been pestering me to mention them in my speech. So there's one, there's two, there's three. That's done. I've titled my remarks "A Valediction Forbidding Mourning," which is borrowed from one of the English poet, and this is a wonderful coincidence, the English poet John Donne's great poems, in which, to put it very simply, the speaker, who's about to go on a long journey, urges his beloved not to mourn because their love transcends all reality. I've done so not only because the program lists this address as a valedictory, an inflection of valediction, meaning a saying goodbye from the Latin, but also because so many of you seniors have shared with me your concerns about the departure that is imminent now. You have asked many questions, variations on how do we leave? How do you say goodbye to people you will never see again? Or how do we stay in touch when we're so far apart? The tone with which these questions have been posed, a combination of hesitance and bravery, has indicated to me an incipient wisdom and an honest grief that have been refreshing. Because in my earlier life, seniors too often hid their grief in anger, in violent language, destructive behavior, or in a gruff stoicism, which, to be honest, should not have been surprising because gruff stoicism, some of you may know, is a default mode for people from the state of Maine, my home, away from Kings. That gruff stoicism has failed me on many occasions, especially valedictions. In August of 2005, I packed my older daughter Gabrielle's belongings in our car and took her to Fordham for her first year of college. I had managed to be strong over the weeks prior to the departure, for her, I believe. But as we were about to go, I panicked, thinking that I had omitted essentials in her education. This next detail will say something about my state of mind. I ran inside and I grabbed some CDs. The CDs are discs about very big, and ask your parents about them. Among those CDs there was a Coltrane, a Nina Simone, an Olatunji, Buena Vista Social Club, some Bach, someone named Puente, among others. If it were to happen today, now that I'm educated, I would have added Feiruz. Most importantly, no offense intended. I grabbed some of the later Beatles albums, important texts in both my family and among my closest friends. She humored me, as teenagers do, though she was already familiar with all of it, and she's a wonderful daughter, so she hid her contempt. And we headed down, listening first to Revolver and then Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. About an hour in, we hit traffic, and the song "She's Leaving Home" came on. It surprised me. I had forgotten it. and immediately, involuntarily, my face was awash in tears. I couldn't look my daughter's way, and I tried awkwardly to hide my condition. The beauty of the moment emerged only minutes later when I finally dared to look at her, for she was asleep and completely unaware of what had happened. I share that story for two reasons. First, I'm sure it appeals to your strange desire, Sama, to hear stories about my ordinary life. And second, because it says something about a teenager's inability to understand the emotions that might invest important people in their lives. So how should you say goodbye? I know already that you know enough to thank the people who have brought you to this moment. But it's worth repeating. Say it with intention. Mean it. And allow me a moment to thank all of you, students, my students especially. If I had Kareem Abwali's gift for vocal dexterity, I would recite all of you immediately, but I don't have that gift. But I want to thank you, my students, faculty, the staff, everybody who has been so generous in helping me enter into this community. So thank you. Thank you. But here is another suggestion. As some among you know, I emerged from the Jesuit tradition, some of which I have left behind and some of which remains. At one time, Jesuits leaving communities would publicly ask for forgiveness of anyone they had offended. The practice was intended as a bulwark against pride, and probably not always effective. But still, I think there is a grace in it. So again, if you'll allow me in this moment to beg your forgiveness, as I know that at one point or another, in what I have done, in what I have failed to do, I have offended you. And I suggest you do the same if you can. I know it's difficult. To whom should you say thank you? Of whom should you ask forgiveness? Well, your parents and your family, of course, you probably know that. But where I come from, teenagers tend to take family for granted. Your parents, I assure you, love you more than you can know. They might annoy you. They might not show their love in the way that you want them to. But someday you will know, inshallah, what it means to be a parent. Then you will regard your parents with a different eye. It's possible you will have regrets. And then, to your teachers, all the staff, say thank you. Of them, ask forgiveness. Every day I go to work and witness talented people laboring for your sake. You should witness as I have the confusion, the anguish, the concern, the love that have consumed them as they have served you. And if you can't do either now, for whatever reason, that's okay. But in 5 or 10 years or more, you will see things differently. You might want to say thank you, or to say you're sorry. That might be difficult then, because you might not believe it, but there are some dinosaurs on this faculty who don't use social media. But it won't be too late. What should you take with you as you leave? I'm not concerned about the material things, as you know, but you should take your intelligence, your curiosity, your generosity, your ambition, your creativity, your sometimes funny sense of humor, your grace, and your great joy, for all of which King's has served as an incubator, a womb, if you will. That's for my friend Ahmed. Bring all that to the world, carve out a path, make your mark, let your beautiful presence be known. But there's something else you should bring. Consider well this community. King's brings together people from all over, from different languages, faith traditions, cultures, and continents, and somehow we have managed to make it work. Again, we might have annoyed each other, but we have arrived at accepting each other or even appreciating and admiring each other. A quick glance at history or current events will tell you that such an environment is a rare thing, sadly. But take that piece of our experience here and impose it on your world, on our world. We need it desperately. I will end with a poem, as you probably knew I must. It is by a Korean poet named Kim So-woo. In one of the many great blessings conferred upon me by students over the years, it was a gift from Hang-yul Kwon, a student at my former school, Chevis High School in Portland, Maine. It is called Azaleas, but it could just as well be called a valediction forbidding mourning. The interpretation is available for both poems, that the mourning only deepens with their delivery. It goes thus. When you turn away from seeing me and go, gently, without a word, I shall send you away. From Mount Yak and Yongbyon, azaleas I shall gather an armful and scatter them on your way. Step after step away on those flowers placed before you, press deep, step lightly, and go. When you turn away from seeing me and go, though I die, no, not a single tear shall fall. May peace and blessings be upon you all. Thank you.